The town of Riverstone had learned how to survive, but it had forgotten how to rest. Mornings began with alarms instead of birds. People moved through the streets with quick steps and guarded expressions, as if the world might demand something from them at any moment. Conversations were short. Smiles were rare. Even children seemed to grow up too fast, carrying worries that did not belong to them. The river that cut through the town had once been a place of laughter. Families used to picnic along its banks. Teenagers skipped stones across its surface. Older folks sat nearby, telling stories about days when life felt slower and kinder. But over the years, the river had become just another thing people passed without noticing, always there, yet ignored. Only one man still listened to it. Elias Carter lived in a small wooden house at the edge of Riverstone, where the paint had peeled and time had left its fingerprints on every corner. The house wasn't empty, but it was quiet in a way that felt full rather than lonely. A single lamp by the window glowed every night, steady and warm, like a promise that someone was home. Elias woke before dawn each day, not because he had to, but because he had learned that the early hours were gentle. He brewed his coffee slowly, letting the aroma fill the kitchen. He washed his cup by hand. He never rushed. Time to him was no longer something to fight. As he stepped outside, the air greeted him like an old friend. He walked the same path every morning, his boots worn, his steps unhurried. When he reached the river, he sat on the old wooden bench he had repaired himself years earlier. There, he breathed. And in those quiet moments, memories sometimes returned. Elias had once lived a life far louder than this. In his youth, he had been strong, quick, and full of belief. When the war called for soldiers, he answered without hesitation. He thought courage meant never being afraid. He thought strength meant never breaking. War taught him otherwise. The first time Elias heard a bomb fall, his body froze before his mind could react. The sound cracked the sky open, and in that instant, everything he believed about the world shattered. He saw fear in the eyes of men who had once joked about going home. He learned how quickly silence could turn into screams. He survived battles he still didn't know how to talk about. He held dying friends in his arms, promising them things he couldn't keep. At night, he stared at the stars, wondering how the same sky could exist over so much suffering. When he finally returned home, Riverstone welcomed him like a hero. But Elias felt like a stranger inside his own skin. Peace did not come easily. Loud noises made his heart race. Crowds made him anxious. Anger arrived without warning, sudden and fierce. He avoided people, avoided memories, avoided himself. The war had ended outside, but it continued inside him. For years, Elias tried to outrun it. He worked long hours. He kept busy. He pretended he was fine. But peace cannot be forced, and healing cannot be rushed. One night, after an argument with someone he cared about, Elias found himself walking aimlessly until his feet led him to the river. He sat there, exhausted, staring at the moving water, and for the first time he stopped fighting. He allowed the pain to exist without judgment. He let grief rise. He let regret speak. Tears fell, quiet and honest. The river did not interrupt him. It did not hurry him. It simply flowed. That was the night Elias learned his most important lesson. Peace is not something you find. It is something you practice. From that day forward, Elias changed, not all at once, but slowly, intentionally. He listened more than he spoke. He forgave when he could. On days he couldn't, he was patient with himself. He learned to sit with discomfort without letting it define him. Years passed. Riverstone continued its restless rhythm, unaware that a quiet center was forming along its riverbank. One afternoon, a boy named Noah appeared. Noah was small for his age, with thoughtful eyes and a backpack that always seemed too heavy. His home was filled with raised voices and broken sentences. He loved his parents, but their anger scared him. The river became his escape. When he saw Elias sitting there, Noah hesitated. "Are you waiting for someone?" Noah asked. Elias smiled. "I already found what I was waiting for." Noah didn't fully understand, but he sat anyway. They talked about simple things, school, the river, clouds that looked like animals. Some days they didn't talk at all. Elias never pushed. He knew that silence, when shared, could be a gift. Noah kept coming back. Soon, others noticed. A school teacher, worn down by years of caring too much, stopped by one evening. A woman who had lost her husband sat quietly, holding her grief like fragile glass. A man whose anger had cost him relationships stood at a distance before finally sitting down. Elias welcomed them all the same way with presence. He didn't offer advice unless asked. He didn't judge. He listened in a way that made people feel seen. In his calm, they felt permission to soften. Something began to change. Arguments near the river grew shorter. People paused before reacting. Children laughed a little louder. The town didn't lose its problems, but it gained something stronger than solutions. It gained awareness. Winter came gently that year. One morning, the bench by the river remained empty. Noah waited longer than usual. Others joined him. The river flowed as it always had. Later that day, the news spread quietly. Elias Carter had passed away in his sleep. The town gathered not with noise, but with reverence. They stood by the river, remembering the man who had never asked to be noticed, yet had changed them all. Noah placed a small wooden sign on the bench Elias had built. It read, "Peace begins where listening starts." Years later, Riverstone was still imperfect. But when life grew heavy, people returned to the river. They sat, they breathed, they listened. And in doing so, they honored a man who taught them that peace is not the absence of pain, but the presence of understanding.